going on, everybody? I am Spartacus with the Generational Gaming and Entertainment Network, and I feel like I've been away for a while, but I just didn't have much to talk about on Sunday. There's been a lot of announcements since Sunday, but I'll go over those at another time. This is the Theater Room. This is episode 12, and I really only have 3 shows to talk about. One of them is a new show that I haven't talked about, and it basically took over my wife and I's entertainment watching for the last couple of days. And I'll get into that in a second. Before I jump in, if you guys like what you hear, like this kind of content, like and subscribe to the Generational Gaming and GGE Network, I should say, on Twitch. We're also on YouTube and Facebook. Like and subscribe everywhere, share everything, leave comments and ideas and whatever else you want. And keep an eye out for the rest of the Generational Gaming and Entertainment Network, The Captain, One Shot, and Scythe X streaming games all throughout the week. And then I'm always here Tuesday around 8:30, and I try to show up on Sundays at 12 to 1. For any news and updates. On Tuesdays, I go over the reviews. On Sundays, it's all the latest entertainment news, if there is any. So now let's go ahead and get right into it. First, where did all my stuff go? Oh, I know what happened. Okay. Let's go ahead and change this. So that was confusing. That's never happened to me before. Everything was hidden on my OBS. Anyway, so first, before I get into the shows that I watched and just kind of my thoughts on a couple of the big things, I do want to talk about my cinema suite of the week. This one is another treat that was provided, or the recipe was provided by my brother, and then the actual cooking of the suite and the development of it, I should say, was by my lovely wife, and these are Nutella cookies. I have a little slideshow here so you can see the progress. I don't even know the recipe. It's a 3-ingredient recipe, and I will include the link when I post the recap on YouTube. But these are fantastic. They're actually a lot heavier than they look, but they are delicious. If you like Nutella, if you like chocolate, they are fantastic. We ate through the entire plate pretty quickly, which really wasn't that hard to do considering how delicious they were. So check them out, Nutella cookies. It's a 3-ingredient recipe, and I'll throw that recipe up on the recap. And then, so now let's get into the shows. First, so Falcon and the Winter Soldier is coming. I will talk about that shortly, but before I get into that, because that's the big one, I did want to talk about a new show that has been recommended to me, but it wasn't just something I kept kind of putting off. Not that it didn't look great. It looked like a funny show, and I like the lead actor. Jason Sudeikis is the lead actor for, a hint for anyone who knows what he's been in. I know he just won, I believe, an award for his performance in the show. Now that I'm watching it, I totally get why. The show I'm talking about is Ted Lasso. He basically plays a coach. He was a basketball coach, and he gets hired to coach a soccer team in Britain. And, he's a little bit out of his league. You get a little bit of that fish out of water kind of comedy. So I'm loving the show. My wife and I made it through, I think, 7 episodes. We only have 3 left. It's a 10-episode season, and season 2 is on the way. But there's a very specific reason why I like it. It is a funny show. Jason Sudeikis is phenomenal in the show. All the other side characters, the soccer players, they're all hysterical. And his assistant coach cracks me up with his lisp. But the biggest reason why I like the show so much is that it feels different in everything else that's on TV, because it's not so heavy-handed with the drama. Obviously, there is some drama, there is some moments, but Ted Lasso's character, Jason Sudeikis' character, is just so optimistic and upbeat, and he just knows that he's going to win you over with his cheerfulness and his happiness, and it's just something you don't really see. And he does it this is the reason why he won his nomination, I believe. He does it in a way where it never comes off as over the top. You yourself as a viewer find yourself rooting for him. It's never annoying. It's never too much. You kind of just see him. You can kind of see him just whittling away at these defenses and all these negative opinions that people have of him. Soccer is a huge sport in London, and while everyone thinks he's kind of taking it more, just kind of like he took it as a job just to get some money. It's like he's slowly showing everybody that he cares more than just about winning. He cares about making the people that he's coaching better. And it's an excellent show. It's on Apple TV, as you could see. It's worth watching 100%. Great show. Like I said, my wife and I started watching it on Sunday, and we went through, I think, 7 episodes in 2 days, basically. And if anyone who knows my wife, she can't make it through a half-hour show of anything without falling asleep. So for her to watch this much must mean it's a good show. It's worth watching 100%. Check it out on Apple TV. It's worth even just paying for it for a month and just getting through the show. Season 2 is coming soon, like I said. So check it out on Apple TV. Then, now after Ted Lasso, let's talk about the Mighty Ducks, Game Changers. So this one's on Disney Plus. We're on episode 3 now. And I don't know, it's starting to, I guess I'm getting older. I'm a big fan of the older movies, but at this point, the show is really only keeping my attention because of the nostalgia of the movies and the fact that I play hockey and it's a hockey show. Otherwise, I don't have anything bad to say about the show, but I don't have anything great to say about it either. I mean, the hockey's unrealistic. It's kind of what you expect from Mighty Ducks. The jokes are kind of childish and a little silly, but again, that's kind of what you expect from a kids show essentially on Disney Plus. My wife likes it because Lauren Graham is one of the main characters. There are likable characters in the show. I did find myself kind of rooting for them, and I was happy for them when they scored a goal. I'm not a fan of the fact that the Mighty Ducks have been turned into this asshole team that the show has done. I guess it kind of makes sense, but to make the Mighty Ducks the actual almost villains of the show kind of annoy me. But again, that's probably just the nostalgia talking from what I used to watch, from the movies I watched. So I can't say too much about it. I do think Emilio Estevez, he kind of goes right. He looks like he's almost not phoning it in. It just looks, you could just tell that he's kind of been out of the game for a while, and he's stretching his acting muscles again. Everyone else is pretty good. The kids really aren't that annoying in the show, which is hard to write for kids apparently in Hollywood. So, kudos to them for that. But I'll continue to watch it. It's not going to be a long season. The episodes are short anyway. And again, there's not a lot of hockey content out there. So if there's a hockey show that's on TV that's actually decent, I got to watch it. So give this one a shot. It's 3 episodes in on Disney Plus. So you haven't missed much if you want to jump in now. And it's definitely a fun show to watch if you have young children. So that's worth watching too. And now the big dog, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So episode 4 was just this past Friday, and it was a big episode. So I'm just going to start off by saying I absolutely love the show. I think the show, it really feels like a sequel to Captain America movies. The action feels like a Russo brothers action style. Everything about it is awesome. I like the grittiness. It's definitely a more gritty show than WandaVision. And I do like the more straightforward kind of story. There's not a lot of big mysteries, but there are some. We'll get into them all. And then just speaking of mysteries, so the first mystery right now is who is the power broker. The power broker so far has been introduced as this head honcho kingpin type who runs the kind of crime-ridden city of Madripoor. We know that they're powerful. They've been able to reach out to the Flag Smashers and specifically Carly a couple of times now and threaten her life. They're now asking for the serum that she stole to be returned. And, we all know now that the serum was essentially destroyed. Almost all of it was destroyed by Zemo. So that can't happen. So, who knows how that's going to play out. I kind of think that I'm wondering if the Carly is going to essentially not turn good, but sort of redeem herself by the end of the show by helping Sam and Bucky stop the power broker. But there's a couple of rumors out there. A lot of people think the power broker is Zemo, which, to me, kind of fits in the whole comic book scheme of things. He could be running a lot from behind the scenes, and maybe they just don't know it. A lot of people think it could be Sharon Carter because she kind of keeps appearing with all this helpful information and assets, and she just seems to know a lot and is pretty powerful. In the last episode, she was able to track Captain America using a satellite. So for someone who's kind of on the run from the government, for her to have that kind of power is crazy. The scene that's kind of playing right now is the beginning of the episode where Bucky realizes that the Wakandans did help him overcome his brainwashing. And I mean, the acting in this scene is just ridiculous. Very little dialogue. You could read it all over his face, though, how relieved he is, how much of a weight it is off his shoulders. Sebastian Stan plays the character phenomenally. And I did see something online about kind of referencing that, whereas we saw him in Avengers in Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, more Infinity War, it was kind of like he's at peace with his past. This show is almost like him relapsing. And it really comes down to the fact that while he never asked for the super soldier serum, never said he wanted it or seeked it out, he was forced into it. He was brainwashed to do some really negative things with it, but it's still a part of him. He still has the fighting abilities. He has the arm. He has the memories, the instincts. So, you can almost understand him fighting the urge to kind of jump right back into that style and that reaction, that way of life. So this scene alone is very powerful, just to show, how relieved he was that he no longer had to fear his own mind, essentially. And then the rest of the show and the rest of this episode in particular kind of show you how easy it is for him to kind of turn that back on if he needed to. Not necessarily the brainwashing, but like the fighting and the viciousness. You see it a few times with the way his fighting style, and you even see later on in the episode when the Wakandans take his arm off, the disappointment in his face just in that split second that she takes his arm off. Like, this was a big surprise to me, but this really goes to show you that while they cured his brainwashing, they maybe never fully trusted him to not go back to his assassin ways. And his sadness or shock at the fact that these people that he thought really trusted him 100%, again, it's phenomenal acting from Sebastian Stan. He really stood out to me this episode. Sam continues to be a fantastic candidate for the next Captain America. But it's a lot more subtle. I think the one thing that people need to really see is not so much that, Sam should be the next Captain America just because Steve Rogers gave him the shield, but more specifically how he's the only one right now who wanted, I should say, to talk to Carly. He wanted to level with her and just kind of see where her head was at and kind of see if he can get through to her. Whereas, same thing, Steve Rogers would choose to talk first. He didn't want to fight immediately. And you could see in this scene here that he gets to her. Before John Walker, the new Captain America, comes in, he kind of has her relaxed. They're kind of telling jokes, they're smiling. You could tell that he's making an impact. And then John Walker walks in and just screws the whole thing up. There's a lot more. The fact that Sam later on tells Zemo he immediately says he doesn't want the serum and he wouldn't take it if given the option, it speaks volumes as well, especially in a show where having that kind of strength and that power over people is what's coveted by almost everybody. And people think that they can't get anything done unless they have that power. And he's one of the few people right now who continue to push to make change and never ask nor want the power. So that's a big thing. I think, a lot of the story gets lost in the fact that it's the first Black Captain America. That's definitely an important part of the character and an important part of the story, but it's not the only part of the story. I like the way they're handling it. I said I think in episode 3 it was, or maybe 2, that I thought it was a little much when after they left Isaiah Bradley's house, cops randomly showed up. It was a little on the nose. Two cops randomly showed up and started giving Sam a hard time and not Bucky. But the rest of the show is really handling the, overall racism in America, or the racial issues in America, I should say, not racism, much more subtly, and it kind of hits home a lot better by doing that. The fact that, Sam was essentially given the shield by a white guy, the fact that John Walker is beaten by, essentially people of color or black people, and he just can't handle it. I mean, those little things are better ways of really showing the subtle racial divide versus just flat out showing racism. So I like the way they're doing it right now, and I think it's awesome. Speaking of John Walker, I mean, this episode was ridiculous. So we could see him throughout the episode getting angrier and angrier because he's just, he kind of expected himself to just get the respect because he was named the new Captain America. And, I guess you could understand why he would expect that to happen. But what he's not understanding is that Steve never asked for respect. I mean, and that's a big difference. You can't just tell people to respect you and then expect to be respected. You need to earn it, and Steve earned it over and over again. He kept to his own. He led when he had to lead. He was a shoulder to cry on if he needed to be, and he was willing to fight for something that he believed in if it came down to that. This guy, while he's not a bad guy, he went to war. He got medals of honor and all that stuff. He just wants to do right, but it's clearly he just kind of assumed that being named the new Captain America meant he made it, and he didn't realize that after getting the shield and after getting the name and the title, that there was going to be a lot more required in order to really earn that respect. And I think it was very telling. There's a scene where he talks to Battlestar, his sidekick, essentially, about while they did get the medals, there was a lot more. They had to do some pretty effed up things. This scene here, they did get the medals, but he had to do, and they both had to do a lot of really screwed up stuff in order to survive what eventually got them those medals. And okay, yeah, maybe in the end it was for the greater good or whatever you want to say, but there's still scars. There's still things that maybe not a normal person can handle, and that you really shouldn't have to do to survive. So, clearly whatever psych evaluation he went through in order to be given the Captain America shield, he didn't need it. Battlestar seems like he's a lot more suited for the Captain America mantle than John Walker is. But just that alone, the fact that they chose John instead of Battlestar, and they went through the same exact situation. We don't know what it was yet, but they clearly went through the same thing and came out and survived it. Why wasn't Battlestar chosen? Is it because he was black, or is it because John Walker maybe got those medals and he didn't? We don't really know the details, but there's more to it. And unfortunately, we're not going to really hear much about it because by the end of the episode, Battlestar, spoiler alert, is killed. Which was, again, telling. This last fight scene is a good example of another example of why Sam might, needs the serum. Needs to be the new Captain America. He holds his own against other super soldiers without having the super soldier serum. He knows how to fight. He's quick on his feet. He's strategic. And John Walker just gets his ass beat over and over and over again, even with the super soldier serum. So that's kind of a big deal right there. I don't know, if Sam will ever get the serum. I do think, they forget sometimes that these guys are punching like friggin' trucks, and Sam's taking these hits like nobody's business. But, he's creative with the pack. He's creative with his wings. John Walker thinks that he can just kind of brute force his way through, and Sam knows that he's got to be a lot smarter than that. It goes to really show you that John Walker, there's a lot of reasons why he's really not good enough to be Captain America. I also think that this last scene, let me skip to this one. This last scene with him holding the shield all bloody, being filmed by everybody in the street. It's such a phenomenal juxtaposition to the fact that Cap almost never had blood on his shield. Some scratches, some bullet marks, but the shield, which essentially represents America, looks like the American flag, never had blood on it. John Walker has it for who knows how long, a month or two, a couple months, and already it's covered in blood. He had the super soldier serum for a day or two at the most, and already he lost control and used it to murder somebody. It's big symbolism, and I really wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the next episode, the shield is no longer in John Walker's hands. Now, for the future of John Walker, in the comic books, he does go by the name of U.S. Agent and becomes essentially like the American Winter Soldier. I feel like that's where they're going to go with him. I know in the comic books, he does eventually kind of earn the respect and the trust back of a lot of other superheroes and of the Avengers. He even joins them and at different times. So, he's not an irredeemable guy. Technically, he did kill a bad guy, he killed one of the villains of the show. But again, Captain America would never do that. He would have knocked him on his ass, sure. If he had to kill him, he would have, but it would have been a much more, respectful way, I guess. I don't know if there's a respectful way to kill anybody, but It was just I was kind of blown away by the end of that episode and really kind of sat for a second and just kind of tried to gather my thoughts because I just wasn't expecting, especially for a Captain America film in the MCU, you don't see a lot of blood and not like visceral blood like that. So I was a little surprised. But yeah, episode 4 I thought was excellent. The show keeps getting better and better. Me personally, while I did like the mystery aspect of WandaVision, I'd have to say I'm a bigger fan of this show so far than WandaVision. Mainly because, especially after taking all of WandaVision in, it seems like it was a lot of almost like teasing the fans just because they could. And who knows, maybe stuff from WandaVision will pay off down the road. But right now, I like this more direct kind of show. And I also like that this show is showing us the blip in a more serious light. So in Spider-Man Far From Home, we saw everybody come back from the blip or from being wished away by Thanos. It was more like a joke. It was like a punchline to they appeared on basketball courts and the high school kids are 5 years older but are still in high school and all that stuff. So like it wasn't anything, to me it wasn't anything special. WandaVision, you got a quick glimpse of how kind of scary it could have been for some of the people coming back with Monica appearing 5 years later in the hospital and her mom was just gone. But in this show, we see Sam struggling with money. We see the Flag Smashers, which, they have, their cause is not wrong. They had plenty of space and resources. Then suddenly half the population shows up again and they're kind of kicked to the curb. So it's kind of a realistic thing to think about. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people really thought of after Avengers Endgame. So I do like that they're giving us a more grounded reality style kind of look into what happened after everyone came back. After Endgame, it was easy to kind of cheer on the Avengers because they saved the day, but you really got to think about a lot of people who were affected by, having loved ones disappear, and then who were affected by coming back 5 years later and their entire world is different, with no memory of what happened. So that's kind of a big deal. It's a great show, and honestly, so I feel like Marvel has knocked it out of the park. The MCU has now 2 shows under their belt. Falcon Winter Soldier is halfway done, or a little over halfway done. And they've really they're firing on all cylinders right now. So I'm 100% excited for what comes next for these characters, for Loki, which I think looks awesome, for Black Widow, which comes out in July. It's nice to be back in the full swing of things, and it's really nice to be having these conversations anyway. So yeah, that's my take on Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then honestly, the last thing that I want to talk about is the Mortal Kombat movie. This movie comes out next Friday. If you're looking around on the internet, you might see some spoilerific stuff. Try not to ruin it for yourself. I kind of couldn't help it, and I've already watched a few things, and I didn't spoil anything for myself. It's just a few kind of quick clips because I just kind of wanted to see how the fight scenes might go. And man, I will tell you right now, I feel like my gut is telling me this is going to be the first video game movie that finally opens up the eyes of Hollywood and shows them that there's a lot of potential in these properties to turn them into movies. Sonic the Hedgehog was a pretty decent video game movie. There are a few other ones that are okay, but this looks unbelievable. The more I see of it, the more I'm excited. The more I read about it, the more I'm excited. I, again, will repeat, I do not like that this guy Cole is the main character. I'm not a fan. I don't see the point to it, but that's just my opinion. Otherwise, though, it's not going to have any sway over my opinion of the movie because I am fully on board with whatever they want to show me. Everything I've seen so far just looks sick. Or there are some early reviews out there, some quick comments, and almost every single one of them praises the fight scenes, praises the stunt choreography. They all kind of say that the storyline is nothing to be, there's not any huge stakes, but there really shouldn't be. I mean, this is the first Mortal Kombat movie. Hopefully it leads into a sequel. I don't know if there's any sequel baiting at the end of the movie, but I mean, this trailer got me all hyped, and from what I'm reading about the early opinions of the movie, it is fantastic. So get ready. Next Friday, April 23rd, the Mortal Kombat movie on HBO Max and in theaters. Let's make sure we support the movie because I want sequels. I want more video game movies. I am friggin' excited. This looks awesome. And then that is it for this week's episode. I'll be back on Sunday. Like I said, there was a bunch of announcements already from Sunday just passed to today, so I will check them out. There's a new trailer for The Hitman's Bodyguard's Wife with Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. There's some new info, some new things coming out. I know there's a Fast and Furious trailer coming out this week. And then also for the video game world, we have a Resident Evil showcase in 2 days. We have a Nintendo showcase, I believe, tomorrow. So there's going to be a lot of other announcements too. Keep an eye out for Scythe X putting out his ideas and his thoughts on those two showcases. I will absolutely be watching the Resident Evil showcase. I'm a giant fan of Resident Evil. They already pushed back the movie like a month or two. The animated movie. It's like a reboot of just the Resident Evil movies in general. I'm pumped. So with that being said, keep an eye out again for The Captain, One Shot, and Scythe X. Streaming games all week. Big Call of Duty fans. I know there was some Guitar Hero played recently. And I will be back on Sunday. I'll be back here next Tuesday to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 5. If you like this kind of video, if you like these kind of shows, like and subscribe. GGE Network, that's the Generational Gaming and Entertainment Network, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. I mean, wherever you can be, we can be. We're on Twitter, all under GGE Network or some variation of that. All the socials will be on the YouTube recap when I post it, and that will be it. I will see you guys next time.